We are back at CBY Spotlight when Rabbi Weinberger and I take an opportunity to sit down with one of our members, place the spotlight on you, and give our community an opportunity to get to know you. Tonight we are here with Rivka Hamburger. How are you doing, Rivka?
Fabulous.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The first question that we always pose to everyone who joins us on CBY Spotlight is, have you ever been on a podcast before?
Yes, I have my own. It's called The Blessed Dough.
The Blessed Dough.
Yes, I've sent a shir to Rabbi Weinberger.
Excellent.
And I've sent one to you, not
That's
to
right.
to listen to it.
I will get there, hopefully. Rabbi Weinberger didn't listen to my podcast either,
That's true.
so it's been a theme
Still
on
haven't.
CBY Spotlight. How many episodes do you have?
4. I started it back in Sivan, so month of Sivan. I do it monthly.
And is there a particular topic? Are you going through a sefer?
Emuna v'bitachon, and then one topic leads into the next, and it builds on top of each other. So it'd be wise to listen to from the beginning till the end.
Because it builds.
It builds. You have to. There's topics that I cover in the shir that build in the next one and the next one, and then you gain a clear understanding of what I want to basically express to the world.
How do you prepare this? How do you?
It's basically like a research paper. I read a lot of books. I basically inhale books, and then I write everything out, and then I give it over on Spotify. So that's basically, it's a lot of work. It's hours and hours of work.
Can you let everybody know how many hours of work goes into giving shiur?
Oh my gosh, everyone should give a big prop to Rabbi Weinberger, Rabbi Zatz, and of course Rabbi Schreier, because it's an insane amount of work. I don't know how they do it. They say it gets easier. It does not. So amazing job. It's a lot of work to get up and speak and just speak freely. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. That's all we need now.
Yes.
How long have you guys been in Teaneck or B'nai Yeshurun? Can you introduce you, your family?
Sure. So I'm married to Eli Hamburger, Baruch Hashem. And we have 3 kids, Tali, Zaki, and Abby, thank God. And we've been here since before even Tali was born. So we've been members since, I believe, 2009. And we love it. I have all 3 Rebbeim on my, text messaging. So Rabbi Schreier, Rabbi Weinberger, and Rabbi Zatz. And it's amazing. What can you ask? What else can you ask for? So it's wonderful.
We'll give you your cut after the
Okay.
recording is finished. But thank you.
It's actually the
She didn't
truth.
see that.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
You have an amazing story. You have an amazing journey that brought you here. Can you share some of that journey from your childhood in Toronto to really your arrival in Teaneck and to where we are today?
Yeah, sure. So let this therapy session begin. Essentially, I'm from Toronto. My family is not from. My mom passed away when I was pretty young. So God came into my life very, very early. I remember. I was always in a Jewish private school, thank God. I remember learning Shmona Esrei in 2nd grade, and I just started doing it at home. It wasn't as well received at home, just because, my family's not from. But I kept at it. I started keeping kosher at 13 years old, and then after 8th grade, I needed to go to high school. So my grandmother and I went to the Olpana, my high school interview ourselves, and I pretty much begged the administration, the principal at the time, to take me in for free to Olpana, and they did. And my grandmother paid whatever the little amount she was able to pay at the time. And that's how I kept my frumkeit, and I was, pretty popular. I did well in school, thank God. I got a full scholarship at the Schulich School of Business, which is a top business school in Toronto. However, before I attended that school, I went to Harova, and I did get a few scholarships, but my dad at that point realized, she's not crazy. She doesn't look like she's going to marry a Hasidish person. So, I'll let her do her thing in Israel. And it was great, but when I came back to college, it was not spiritual. It felt totally void of spirituality. So I had to tell my dad I need to go to Stern. I went to Stern, and I did very well there, thank God. I was able to meet my husband, and here we are today.
Now, your dad was initially resistant to you going to Stern, right?
My dad was originally, so he was resistant to high school. To Stern, he was, I mean, I was...
Here you are on scholarship in a top university in Canada.
Full scholarship. It was academic scholarship. And then I had to basically ask him to pay, at the time it was only $25,000 US, US. So I basically had to tell him that I would make it worth his while, worth his money. So I was, thank God, valedictorian of Stern. And that was a proud moment for him. I was very happy. And again, none of this was for me. Everything was from Hashem. I prayed for everything. And I always had a constant, super close relationship with Hashem. So it was not for me. Of course, I did my hishtadlut. I remember in Stern when everyone was watching the final season of Friends, the final episode of Friends, and I'm like, Friends is not going to get me, my A that I need to become valedictorian. I'm just going to study, and everyone else was watching Friends. I so remember this. And lessons for life about what we watch on TV, but another story. So I worked hard, and thank God, with Hashem's help and with my hishtadlut, that obviously came from Hashem, I was successful.
All right, Rivka. So anybody who's watching thus far can see you're obviously a very spiritual person. You want to tell us a little bit about your schedule, if you're comfortable, in particular, the notion of hisbodedus, as I would call it, or hitzbodedut, which I know is not common. Rabbi Schreier, I don't think either. I speak for Rabbi Zast, I don't think he does either, so it's not such a common practice, but if you wouldn't mind telling us about that, and in general, I guess what your day looks like.
Sure. So a connection with Hashem is very, very important, so I try to do that first thing in the morning. So what I do is hitbodedut, which is, it's a type of meditation, and it's a conversation with Hashem, with God. I try to do it first thing in the morning, so my kids get to school, they need to be on the bus at 7:30, so I need to be up at 5:45, and I do it for an hour. This is not instead of shacharit, it's not instead of mincha for me, and for men, it wouldn't be instead of mariv, it's not instead of tehillim, it's not instead of learning Torah, it's in addition to. Actually, my 4th episode on the Blessed Dough talks about hitbodedut, so if anyone wants
So
to...
we clearly have our homework to do.
So if anyone wants to further, learn about it, it's totally explained in that class. But it's 1 hour of meditation. I talk to Hashem. It became very mainstream amongst, with Rabbi Nachman. He brought it into, he really broke it down, how to do it, what to say. It's essentially, praising Hashem, thanking Hashem for everything, and then going into cheshbon hanefesh, which is accounting of the soul. I do have an accounting degree, but of course we're talking about the accounting of the soul, and then it goes into davening for Klal Yisrael, personal requests, etc. Naturally, the conversation with Hashem usually focuses on what's going on in your life. If there's a kid needing to get married, if a friend needs help, so naturally the conversation goes there. But of course, the main thing is thanking Hashem and judging yourself. Again, not persecuting yourself, judging yourself favorably in order to you understand that you are not perfect and you have ways to go, and that's perfectly fine, but it's not persecuting yourself, and that's a big difference. And at least I'm guilty of that at times, and just from what I see going on in the world, many of us are.
Do you have any one or two particularly impactful people? I don't know, say rabbis, could be people who have shaped your worldview, who you listen to their speeches, you read their books. I'm sure we could go on for a while, but we're going to try to keep it succinct. Maybe...
Yes. So, of course, I listen to you guys.
You're Yotze,
Rabbi Schreier, Rabbi Zaz, Rabbi Weinberger. The podcast I listen to on the daily is Gedalia Fenster. He's good for anyone at whatever spiritual level you're at. If you believe in God, wonderful. If you don't, good to start listening to him. The books I recommend that every person should listen to at whatever level they are at are Proof of Heaven by Dr. Ibn Alexander, Garden of Emuna by Rabbi Arush, and Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. Those 3 books are a must for everyone. And then once you start going, you read those books, you start, doing the self-work that makes the world work, and you start, going into other books. I really love Dr. David Lieberman's work. I loved how free will works. I loved how to never get angry again. I'm actually reading another book right now by him, which is called Mind Reader. I just picked up, I read a lot, thank God. Dr. Rabbi Chaim Kramer's, Anatomy of the Soul. I mean, I have an entire library. But the 3 books that I recommend are the ones that I stated. I have read a lot of psychology books. The Mind-Body Connection, I'm a big believer in that. The Body Keeps the Score, and this is actually why I got into reading Rabbi Arush's books, because of course there's always the impetus, right? About 7 years ago I had a rough back situation. That was like the wake-up call, because after working so hard, thank God, and having such a close relationship with Hashem, 7 years ago, when I'm not going to say how old I am, but 7 years ago, I got comfortable. You live the Teaneck life. Was I getting up every morning? Was I doing the mitzvot the way I was supposed to be doing? Was I getting a little more relaxed? Could be. So I got the wake-up call 7 years ago. I had horrific back pain. God forbid that anyone should ever know of it, but thank God, I'm very thankful, because it was like the fire that basically reminded me, like, get your act together. Where is this coming from? Obviously, I had to deal with my mother's death that I never dealt with when I was a very young girl at 9 years old. But then it started, so I started reading Dr. Sarno's books, all the psychology books, and I wasn't satisfied with basically understanding the mechanisms of the obvious truth that, there's a mind-body connection. The answer of this can't possibly be happening to people just to suffer. There has to be a reason. And this is when I got into the philosophical question of, like, what is the message behind all of this? And then I was talking to my friend Sarah Abanaim, who basically recommended I read Rabbi Arush's Garden of Emuna. And once I read a rabbi's book, I buy all the books. So I read many, many of his books. And that is what started me on my spiritual journey. So it was a 7-year process, which is, why I'm, thank God, sitting here today and talking about it. But it was certainly not overnight. And it's a daily grind, and there is resistance, but you got to beat the Yetzer Hara, and that's the way it is.
So you graduate valedictorian from Stern.
Yes.
So educationally, career-wise, where do you go from there?
I worked in corporate America for a number of years. What did I do? I did valuation at a firm, and then I switched to asset management. Not asset management. I did wealth management for a number of years. I managed billionaires. Some of you guys know the products that these people have come out with. I'm not putting it on camera. And after that, I went private because I needed to scale back on hours. It was still a lot of hours. And then at some point, I basically needed to take a break. And then that was it.
What went into that decision? You have this corporate job and you decided that you needed a break for mental health, for physical health?
I burnt out. That's the truth, because I was working crazy hours. And then again, it was the knock at the door. I had this horrible back pain. No one should ever know of it, at 31 years old. And I basically had to reevaluate, what I was, like, where I was going. Like, I was this, a Teaneck mom, very comfortable, just doing the daily grind, not really having Hashem like totally in the picture on a daily basis at that point. So that was the wake-up call that I needed to basically include him in everything, in my daily schedule, in my world, etc. And that is what took me from, working in corporate America, which, by the way, is great for people as long as you don't burn out. I burnt out. But this is what led me to my schedule today.
All right, so at this point, I think we're going to shift to the rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
To keep your answers more succinct, get people to know a different side of you, some things we haven't been able to uncover. And all right, let's get to it. You want me to begin?
Sure.
You want to begin? All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Do you have any hidden talents or areas of expertise that, I shouldn't even say hidden, any other talents?
Well, you guys know I make babka.
I was waiting for that answer, okay. Does he know I got one?
He knows.
There you go. Okay, just making sure
He
that everything's all
knows.
good, okay.
And also Rabbi Zatz knows. I started a little because of COVID. That was my, at some point what happened. I had a lot of patience, so to say. No one could make challah. Everyone needed food, so I started delivering challahs to people. And naturally, when I start doing something, I want to level it up. So then I was like, I was watching a, Good Eats episode with Alton Brown. Ellie was actually watching it. And I was like, why don't I try babka? I'm just going to do it. And then I did it, and then I got really good at it. And so people started asking me left, right, and center. So now what I have turned it into is essentially a philanthropic endeavor where I price them like crazy, and I give half the tzedakah.
Wow, they're really good.
Yeah, they're pretty fabulous, thank God.
Everyone, hopefully this will be good advertising for the
Yeah.
podcast.
I don't
and
need
hopefully-
if you want it, you got to pay up.
Win-win. Good babka and
Yes,
tzedakah.
yes. Yeah, it's going to tzedakah, exactly.
What is the most interesting item in your house?
The tambourines for when Mashiach comes. I'm being serious. Dina Siegel, all work and no pay. This is a shout out to her. And also Peas, Love, and Carrots. They were talking about it on Instagram, and I'm like, I have to buy the tambourines for the girls in my house, so when Mashiach comes, we'll be dancing on the streets.
They say the Chavetz Chaim used to keep a packed suitcase right under
That's
his
next,
under
that's
his
next.
bed.
That's
We're
I'm
getting
not there yet,
We're
but I
getting
do
there.
have the tambourines in the holders.
Got it.
Okay, what is the most interesting place in the world you've been?
I love Israel, obviously, but my favorite place always, anywhere in the world, is always on the beach because it's the best place to do hitbodedut. For me.
This is like breaking from when you do hitbod to do it in the morning, because traditionally it was done out in the forest. You do it at home
I
in the
do it
backyard.
outside in my backyard.
In the backyard.
And if people
the
see me,
winter?
I see your mom all the time walking,
She's a
by
big
the way.
walker, yeah.
Yes, and she always says hi, and I can't talk because I'm like talking to Hashem.
Have you ever explained that to her outside?
No, but now she's gonna
Now
hear
Now
it.
she'll know when she
Hater.
watches this
Exactly.
episode.
So I have if I do a walk in the morning and I do hitbodedut, I have earphones in my ears. Everyone thinks I'm talking to someone.
You won't say hi to someone walking away.
No, I will do this, but I will not break conversation with Hashem.
So we should let everybody know they shouldn't take offense if they see you in the morning.
Correct.
You're moving during hitbodedut, or you're like...
You walk and you
walk.
talk.
You walk. Okay,
You
you're
walk
not,
and
you're
you
not
talk.
like sitting in your backyard.
You can if you have to do what's comfortable. If you're comfortable, underneath your covers, in pajamas, in your sheet, like in your bed, great. It just can't be in an earshot with anyone because it has to be a private conversation with Hashem.
You kind of addressed this a little bit. Have there been any major hobby lifestyle changes since COVID?
I stopped watching television.
That's the complete opposite of basically everyone else in
I
the world.
stopped watching television. I don't watch television. I do love Marvel movies. It has to be a really good one to get me to go to the theaters because, again, to each his own. To me, it's a waste of time. For me, to each his own. I'd rather be learning, reading a book, doing something productive. Sorry.
Okay.
You could edit
And
that.
to be fair, I
No,
don't
that's
think
great.
you're saying any of this in a judgmental fashion.
For me,
this is what
I don't.
works for you.
I don't
we wouldn't
watch
be putting
television.
this on as like a muster lesson. It's the
I don't
CBY
watch
spotlight. This is
I don't watch.
This is
I
your
don't-
perspective.
Yeah, I literally stopped watching television since 2020.
okay.
So what would you respond to people who say like, Rivka's amazing, but that's just not me. She's just not normal. How would you respond to that?
I'm a totally normal person. I eat at Juice by Julie like everyone else. I like my fancy designer shoes. I like nice things like everyone else. But again, everything needs to be elevated to Hashem. Again, I also need to maintain, for me, spiritually, I need to maintain that constant relationship with Hashem because I don't know if anyone's noticed, but God forbid, if you don't, you will get knock at the doors and you're going to have that relationship one way or another with Hashem. That's the bottom line. So I rather instigate the relationship instead of wait.
I don't know what Juice by Julie is. I don't know if you know
Are
what
you
Juice by
serious?
Julie is. I really don't.
Wait, seriously?
Wow, he's awesome.
Genuine. I know what Wordle is, but I don't know what
I
Juice
feel
by
like it
Julie
came from the
is.
5 towns, didn't it?
I think it came from Brooklyn.
Oh gosh, right now I'm also making myself look bad. But I know what Juice by Julie is. I've been there a few times. It's great.
Rivka, thank you so much for joining
It's
us.
great.